Have you ever stopped to think about the impact of your words? How many times, in moments of tension, have you said something that hurt someone you love? Perhaps you lost a friend, faced misunderstandings with a coworker, or even created distance within your family. What we often fail to realize is that words hold the power to build or destroy. Today, I'll show you how choosing the right words can completely transform your relationships, bringing more harmony to your life. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message. Surely, thousands of people need to hear this. Think about a recent argument you had. Maybe it started as something trivial, but quickly escalated into insults or accusations. Now reflect. Was the issue really what was being discussed, or did the way you spoke make things worse? Communication is a bridge between people, but if misused, it can become a barrier. In this video, you'll learn how to avoid misunderstandings, create deeper connections, and transform the way you communicate in any situation. Let's start by understanding the impact of words on relationships. Every word you say carries emotional weight. A poorly chosen phrase can cause hurt, while an encouraging word can brighten someone's day. Imagine a couple arguing because one came home late. The phrase, "you never think about me," is not just a critique. It carries an implicit accusation that can deeply wound. On the other hand, saying, "I was worried and wanted to understand what happened," creates space for dialogue and understanding. The tone, the words, and even the timing of our speech can completely change the course of a conversation. And it's not just in romantic relationships. At work, how you communicate an idea or give feedback can determine whether you're heard or ignored. Teachers can lose students' attention with discouraging words. Parents can create emotional distance with their children through constant criticism. This shows that the impact of words goes far beyond what we imagine. Why do we make so many mistakes? Because we often communicate without thinking. How many times have you said something in the heat of the moment? Perhaps you used accusatory words like, "you always do this," or adopted a defensive tone that blocked any chance for dialogue. These communication patterns are more common than we realize and, unfortunately, can become hard to break habits. Now, let's consider a practical example. Imagine a parent impulsively correcting their child. "You're so lazy. You never do anything right." What could have been a moment of guidance turns into an attack that might create insecurity or resentment. At work, a comment like, "You're wrong again," can demotivate a colleague and create tension. These mistakes happen because we often don't reflect before we speak. But the good news is we can change this. How? The answer lies in simple, yet powerful techniques to choose the right words and build connections instead of conflicts. The first technique is the pause. Before responding, take a mental step back. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, will what I'm about to say help or worsen the situation? This pause may seem insignificant, but it is essential to avoid impulsive reactions. Steve Jobs, the creative genius behind Apple, was known for his explosive personality. He understood this about himself and often used the pause technique during interviews and conferences.
How did you get involved with personal computers?
Well, I ran into my first computer when I was about 10 or 11. And it's hard to remember back then, but I'm an fossil now. I'm an old fossil. So when I was 10 or 11, it was about 30 years ago. And no one had ever seen a computer. To the extent that they'd seen them in movies, and they were...
Mr. Jobs, you're a bright and influential man.
Here it comes.
It's sad and clear that on several counts you've discussed, you don't know what you're talking about. I would like, for example, for you to express in clear terms how, say, Java, in any of its incarnations, addresses the ideas embodied in OpenDoc. And when you're finished with that, perhaps you could tell us what you personally have been doing for the last 7 years.
You know, you can please some of the people some of the time, but one of the hardest things when you're trying to affect change is that
people like this gentleman are right in some areas. I'm sure that there are some things OpenDoc does, probably even more that I'm not familiar with, that nothing else out there does. And
Cut to video clips of Steve Jobs pausing thoughtfully before speaking. Observe how he pauses, thinks, and uses connecting words like well or we now. The second technique is replacing criticism with suggestions. Instead of saying, "You never help me with anything," try something like, "I'd feel much better if you could help me with this." This shift not only avoids conflict, but also invites collaboration. Small changes in how we speak can make a big difference. Another powerful technique is emotional validation. Before sharing your opinion, acknowledge the other person's feelings. Imagine your partner is upset because you were late. Instead of immediately justifying yourself, say, "I understand that you're upset because I was late. Let's talk about it." This validation shows you care and opens the door to a more constructive dialogue. We also need to learn to communicate assertively. This means expressing how we feel without blaming the other person. Replace phrases like, "You make me feel bad," with, "I feel bad when this happens." This small adjustment changes the conversation dynamics, making it less accusatory and more collaborative. To help you visualize, let's simulate a common conversation. Friend 1, "You only reach out to me when you need something." Friend 2, "That's not true. You never understand me." Now see the difference when applying the techniques we've discussed. Friend 1, "I feel like you reach out to me more when you need something, and it makes me question our friendship. Can we talk about it?" Friend 2, "I didn't realize you felt that way. Thank you for telling me. Let's work on this together." Do you see how the tone changes completely? That's the magic of choosing the right words. The benefits of healthy communication go far beyond avoiding conflicts. When you learn to communicate clearly and empathetically, you build trust, strengthen emotional connections, and promote a harmonious environment. Imagine how different your life could be with fewer arguments and more constructive conversations. Picture couples overcoming misunderstandings, parents guiding their children without yelling, and teachers inspiring their students with encouraging words. And it doesn't stop there. Healthy communication reduces stress, improves mental health, and makes you a more admired and respected person in all your social circles. It transforms not only your relationships, but also how you see yourself and how others perceive you. Before we wrap up, here's a challenge for you. Think of a recent situation where communication could have been better. Now apply one of the techniques we discussed today and see how the outcome changes. Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to know how this is transforming your life. Remember, words have power. They can be bricks building relationships or barriers that separate us. The choice is yours. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that can transform your life. See you in the next video.